Hi dear students, today we are going to see a new grammar lesson about the modal auxiliary verbs, the English modal verbs. So here, in English we have as modal verbs we have can. The predicate of can is could. We have may. The predicate is might. And we have must. We have will. The predicate is would. Then we have shall and should. Here are the modal auxiliary verbs. And after we have what we call the semi-modal. So there we have, as an example, ought to. We have dare. We have need. They are what we call the semi-modals, and we have also had better. We have another part that we call the phrasal modal verbs. The phrasal modal verbs, you can use the equivalent of can or could, which is be able to. You can have be allowed to, which is the equivalent of may or might. You can have to, because must, we use it only with the present time. If you want to turn it into the past or the other tenses, we use the equivalent of must, which is have to. It will be had to. But can, the predicate is could. May, the predicate is might. If you have must, the predicate will be had to. So there we have what we call the phrasal modal verbs. So here, how to form or how to make sentence by using the modal verb. For example, she can speak English. There we have an example where we have the modal verb can. They say that the modal verbs are used to introduce other verbs. So here, it's not possible for someone to say only she can English, or she may tomorrow, or she must parents. It's not possible. The modal verbs are used to introduce another verb. That's why we have here she can speak English. There is another thing that is here. Normally, with the present simple, if you have the third person of singular, we add s. But with the modal verbs we have that it's not possible to add s with the third person of singular in the present time. We say only she can speak English. Another thing is, if we have two verbs, normally we should use to, or we use the gerund between the two verbs. But if we have the modal verb, they say that the modal verbs are not preceded and they are not followed also by to. It's not possible to say she can to speak. It's not correct. We do not say also to can, to may, to must, or to ought to, or to dare. We say only can, may, must, etc. That is what we say. So here, if someone say she can speak English, this sentence tells us about something that is important. This sentence, she can speak English. In this sentence, what we have here is called a capacity. That is the function of this sentence. She can speak English. We have a capacity. This sentence expresses a capacity or an ability. To tell you that the modal auxiliary verbs are used with speaker. The speakers can use the modal auxiliary verbs to express an attitude, to express a feeling, to express a probability, or to tell about behavior or something like that. So that is what we call the functions of the modal verbs. That is what we are going to see. And then we are going to see the functions of the modal verbs. The modal verbs, we can use them to express a capacity or to express an ability, that's the same. A capacity and ability, that's the same. To express a capacity, we use the modal can or could. We can use also have the capacity or have the ability. We can use also the equivalent of can, which is be able to. For example, when I was young, I could run 5 kilometers. So here we have a capacity. That is what we call physical capacity. Because to run, that is physical. So here we have a physical capacity. If it was Matar can speak 4 languages. So there it's not physical, but it is intellectual capacity. To speak a language, that is an intellectual fact. So here, it's possible to say Matar has the capacity or Matar has the ability to speak 4 languages. Or Matar is able to speak 4 languages, that is a capacity or an ability. We can use also the modal auxiliary verb to talk about what we call a probability. A probability or a possibility. It means that we have the modal can or could or may or might. We can have also maybe, one word, or perhaps one word also, which is the equivalent of the French word peut-être. Peut-être, that is compounded. Peut-être, maybe, or perhaps. Or it's possible. For example, it's possible that they come to the party. You have a party, maybe you celebrate your birthday and you invite your friend. You say it's possible that they come to the party. So here we have it's possible, means that we have a probability or we have a possibility. We can turn this sentence by saying they can or they may. They may come to the party. Or maybe, or perhaps they will come to the party. It's possible also to use the modal auxiliary verb to express a prohibition. A prohibition, it is something that you have not the right to do, or it is something which is against the rule or the law. That is what we call a prohibition. That is something which is forbidden. So to express a prohibition, we can use the modal mustn't, the negative form, must, mustn't. We can use also have not to. We can use shouldn't. We can use it is forbidden, or it's against the rule. As an example, it is forbidden for students to eat during time class. It is forbidden for students to eat during time classes. So here we have it's forbidden. It means that we can reformulate the sentence by saying students mustn't eat during time classes. So that is a way to express a prohibition. We can express also an obligation. To express an obligation, it is something that you have to do. That you are obliged to do something, it will be an obligation. So there we will have must, we will have to, we can have ought to, we can have should, or we have be obliged to, be forced to. All these are some phrasal that we can use to express an obligation. Be forced to. For example, Modu was forced to call the police. So there we can say Modu had to call the police. So there we have an obligation. It can be must or all these, but it can be also the phrasal be obliged. It can be also be. Now we have to express a necessity. So there we use the semi-modal need. Need. And I explained lately that need, it can be considered as ordinary verb. It can be also considered as a modal verb. If we use the negative form, needn't, it means that it is auxiliary. But if someone say don't need, or doesn't need, or didn't need, it means that here we have ordinary verb. So we have need, we have also be necessary, or it is a necessity, to express a necessity. For example, we have should also. Should. For example, Samba is ill. He needs to see a doctor. We have also the verb require. 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 Samba is ill. It requires for him, for Samba, to see a doctor. Samba is ill. He should see a doctor. And after we have what we call lack of necessity. Lack of necessity. So there we have the negative form needn't, or don't need, doesn't need, or didn't need, or be not necessary, or it's not a necessity, or shouldn't, or not require, to express the lack of necessity. Lack of necessity, it means when we do not, if it is not a necessity for someone to do something, that is what we call a lack of necessity. As an example, meeting is over. The meeting is over. We don't need to take a taxi. The meeting is over. We don't need to take a taxi. We have a meeting in Dakar. I'm a member of an association, so I should attend the meeting. Unfortunately, I got up late. So there, they tell me that the meeting is over. It's not necessary for me to take a taxi. So there I will say we don't need to take a taxi. It is lack of necessity. We have also to make advice, or to give advice. To give advice. To give advice with C. To give advice with C. Because we have to advise with S, which is the verb. To give advice. That is what we call in French donner des conseils. Conseiller, that is to advise. And we have also must. We have should. We have had better. We have ought to. For example, I advise you to check your lesson before the test. The teacher told to his students, I advise you to check your lesson before the test. That is, you must, or you should, or you had better, or you ought to check your lesson before the test. So here we have advice. You can use also the modal verbs to ask for permission. Sometime in class, most of the time, if a student want to go out, the student must come to see the teacher to ask the permission to go out. We can use the modal verb to express the permission. So here, a student come to see the teacher and tell him, can I go out? There are some other students who say, may I go out? It depends. So we can use the modal can, or could, or may, might. It can be to allow. Allow. For example, here, the student who want to go out, he can say, can I go out, please? Sir, can I go out, please? There are some others who say, could I go out, please? And then others say, may I go out, please? To show you that there is degree. May I go out is more polite than can I go out? Could I go out? Could I go out is more polite than can I go out? There is a degree to show or to express a permission. That's why most of the time, if someone pray in English, you pray God in English, you have not the right to say can or could. So here we say, may God the Almighty, the merciful, bless you. We say may, not can or could, because may is more polite. So we can use allow. Do you allow me? Or do you permit me to go out? Do you allow me, or do you permit me to go out? So we have allow, we have also permit to express a permission. After we have how to express a suggestion. How to express a suggestion. For example, you are with your friends at the weekend. You are with your friends. You are seeing what you can do during the weekends. Someone can say, can we go to the beach? Can we go to the beach? Or could we go to the beach to make the suggestions? But there are some other possibilities. For example, why not? Or why don't we? Why not? Or why don't we? Or what about? Or how about? And then we can have the verbs propose or suggest. For example, I suggest to go to the beach. It's possible to say here, what about or how about going to the beach. It's possible also to say, why not to go to the beach? Or why don't we go to the beach? There is another way, that is, would you mind if? It's possible to use would you mind if to make a suggestion or to make also a request. Would you mind? It's possible to use it with a suggestion, but it's possible also to use it to make a request. So here we can say, would you mind if we went to the beach? Would you mind if we went to the beach? Because we have already seen the grammar lesson about the if clauses. And we say lately that if we have the past, it will be conditional present. That's why if you say, would you mind if, it will be the past. You have not the right to say, would you mind if we go to the beach? The common form or the set form is, would you mind if we went to the beach? And then we have also how to express a preference. To express a preference, we can have the verb prefer. We can have also the verb like. We can have also would you rather. We have prefer, we have like, we have also would you rather. But there, with prefer, someone can say, I prefer orange. I prefer orange to bananas. I prefer orange to bananas. So there we have only verb that is followed by a noun. But if we have a verb, we say, I prefer watching a match, a football match, than a film. After prefer, we can use the gerund. It's possible also to use the infinitive form. I prefer to watch a match than a film, because there are some verbs that accept the two rules, gerunds or the infinitive. I prefer watching a match, or I prefer to watch a match. All these are the same. I would rather watch a match than a film. It can be would you like also. I would like to watch a match than a film. So here are how to express a preference. The last one, or the last case we have, is how to express instructions, or how to make instructions. Instructions, we use this form if you want to give order, or it can be a command, or it can be a request. And then to express it, we use the imperative form. The imperative form. Imperative form, that is verb without to. Verb without the subjects. Sorry. Verb without the subjects. Go out. Stop talking. Learn your lesson. Do your exercise. Don't speak loud. All these are the imperative form, and they express a command or an order or a request, that is the instructions. For example, write your lesson. Don't speak loud. All these are used to express an instruction. It is an order, command, request. That is what we have to see about the modal auxiliary verbs. And thank you, dear students. See you for the next time.